Oh yes, you're not being disrespected by accident. Make the choice to end the pattern today by watching this video to the end. Welcome to Mind Elevate. Our channel has one core mission, and that is to help you rise to your higher self with our daily dose of mind-uplifting content, affirmations, and other empowering resources, not just positive words but life-transforming. So please subscribe to stay in tune. Let's get started. Your life, every relationship, every interaction, every response you get from others, it's all sending you a message about what you've been programming in your inner world. Right now, in this moment, I want you to think about the last time someone treated you in a way that didn't feel right. Maybe they dismissed your ideas. Maybe they took you for granted. Or maybe they simply didn't give you the respect you knew you deserved. Here's what most people don't understand. That treatment wasn't random. It wasn't just about them. It was a direct reflection of the energy you've been broadcasting to the world, like a radio signal that's been playing on repeat. And just like a radio signal, you can change the frequency. Let me share something that happened to me years ago when I was just beginning to understand this principle. I had a colleague who would constantly interrupt me during meetings, dismiss my ideas, and sometimes even take credit for my work. At first, I did what most people do. I blamed them. I complained about their behavior. I felt like a victim. But then one day something shifted. I realized that for years I had been carrying around this belief that my ideas weren't valuable enough, that I needed to prove myself worthy of attention. That moment changed everything. Because here's the truth about your brain. It's not just recording your experiences. It's creating them. Every time you accept disrespect, every time you tolerate behavior that doesn't align with your worth, you're strengthening neural pathways that say, "This is normal. This is what I deserve." Observe, the exciting thing about your brain and your nervous system is that they're constantly changing. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel is leaving a biological signature in your body. When you repeatedly accept certain treatment from others, you're not just having an experience. You're becoming biologically addicted to that emotional state. Think about that for a moment. If you've spent years accepting disrespect, your body has literally become addicted to the chemistry of those emotions. Your cells have become dependent on feeling small, feeling unworthy, feeling like you need to prove yourself. And just like any addiction, your environment will keep serving you situations that give you that familiar emotional fix. But here's where it gets fascinating. You have the power to break this cycle. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what's happening in your outer world and what you're feeling in your inner world. When you start practicing new thoughts, new emotions, new states of being, when you start feeling worthy, respected, and valued before anyone treats you that way, you begin to change your neural circuitry. This isn't just positive thinking. This is biological transformation. When you change your internal state, when you begin to operate from a new level of self-worth, something remarkable happens. The quantum field responds. People begin to treat you differently because you're broadcasting a different signal. I've seen this countless times in our workshops. Someone comes in, and they're stuck in a pattern of being disrespected at work or taken for granted in their relationships. They think the solution is to change other people. But then they learn to change their own energy, their own emotional state, their own neural patterns, and suddenly, as if by magic, their entire world begins to shift. Remember, your nervous system is like a sophisticated antenna. It's constantly broadcasting who you are and what you'll accept. If you've been accepting less than you deserve, it's not because that's all that's available to you. It's because that's the signal you've been broadcasting to the universe. The good news is that you can begin to change this pattern right now. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need the perfect circumstances. You just need to understand that every time you accept treatment that doesn't align with your highest self, you're reinforcing old programming. And every time you choose to operate from a state of worth and self-respect, you're creating new neural pathways that will eventually become your new normal. Think about the brain for a moment. This incredible organ that's constantly rewiring itself based on your experiences. Most people don't realize that their social experiences, the way they're treated by others, actually create physical changes in their neural structure. It's like carving pathways in snow. The more times you slide down the same path, the deeper that groove becomes. When someone treats you with disrespect and you accept it, you're not just having a momentary experience. You're actually strengthening specific neural circuits that make that pattern more likely to repeat. Your brain is literally becoming wired to expect and accept that treatment. It's fascinating, and somewhat troubling, how this works on a biological level. Let me break this down in a way that will show you exactly how this happens. Every time you have an experience, your brain creates connections between neurons. These connections form patterns. And these patterns become your automatic responses to life. If you grew up in an environment where your opinions were dismissed, where your boundaries weren't respected, your brain forms strong neural pathways around those experiences. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Your brain doesn't just store these patterns. It actively seeks to confirm them. It's looking for evidence in your environment that matches your existing neural patterns. So if you have strong neural pathways around not being respected, your brain will actually filter your experiences to find situations that confirm this pattern. It's not because that's all that exists in your world, it's because that's what your brain is wired to notice and expect. Think about the last time someone crossed your boundaries. Your immediate response, whether you stood up for yourself or accepted the violation, wasn't just a conscious choice. It was a result of years of neural programming. Your brain has created a sophisticated network of neurons that automatically fires in these situations, producing specific thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. The science behind this is crystal clear. When neurons fire together repeatedly, they wire together more strongly. This is what neuroscientists call Hebbian learning. Neurons that fire together wire together. So every time you accept treatment that's less than what you deserve, you're strengthening these neural patterns. You're making it more likely that you'll accept similar treatment in the future. But here's the amazing thing about your brain. It's constantly changing. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to form new neural connections throughout your life. This means you're not stuck with the patterns you've created. You can literally rewire your brain to expect and accept different treatment. Let's talk about what happens in your brain when you start changing these patterns. When you begin to stand up for yourself, when you start expecting respect instead of accepting disrespect, you're creating new neural pathways. At first, these new pathways are like thin trails through dense forests. They're there, but they're not as strong as the old highways of habitual behavior. This is why change can feel uncomfortable at first. Your brain is used to running down those old neural highways. Creating new pathways requires energy, attention, and repetition. But here's the key. Every time you choose a new response, every time you demand respect instead of accepting disrespect, you're strengthening these new neural pathways. And it's not just your brain that changes. Your entire nervous system gets involved in this transformation. Your autonomic nervous system, which controls your stress response, begins to operate differently. Instead of automatically going into stress mode when someone challenges your boundaries, you can train your nervous system to remain calm and centered. The science shows us that this kind of neural rewiring isn't just possible, it's natural. Your brain is designed to adapt and change based on your experiences and choices. The question is, are you actively directing this change, or are you letting old patterns run on autopilot? Think about this. Every interaction you have today is either strengthening old neural patterns or creating new ones. Every time someone treats you in a certain way and you respond, you're either reinforcing old circuits or building new ones. This is happening whether you're conscious of it or not. Most people go through life letting their past programming determine their present experiences. They don't realize that they have the power to consciously rewire their neural patterns. But you're not most people. You're here because you're ready to understand and use this incredible power of neuroplasticity to change how people treat you. Remember, your brain doesn't know the difference between what's happening in your environment and what you're imagining. When you consciously practice new responses, when you mentally rehearse standing up for yourself and expecting respect, you're creating new neural pathways just as effectively as if you were doing it in real life. This is why mental rehearsal is so powerful. Athletes use it to improve their performance, and you can use it to improve your relationships and social interactions. By repeatedly imagining yourself being treated with respect and responding from a place of worth and power, you're literally rewiring your brain's social circuitry. Let's talk about something that most people never realize: the powerful addiction to emotional states that keeps them trapped in patterns of unwanted treatment. When I say addiction, I'm not speaking metaphorically. Your body literally becomes chemically dependent on the emotional states you frequently experience. Every emotion you feel creates a cascade of biochemical reactions in your body. When you feel disrespected, when you feel less than, when you feel like you need to prove your worth, your body releases specific chemicals. These chemicals, your stress hormones, your neurotransmitters, they become like a drug that your cells have learned to expect and crave. Think about this. If you've spent years feeling not good enough, feeling like you need to please others to be accepted, your body has become addicted to the chemistry of these emotional states. Your cells have developed receptors specifically designed to receive these chemicals. It's like having millions of tiny mouths hungry for the chemistry of unworthiness. This is why change can feel so uncomfortable at first. When you start standing up for yourself, when you begin demanding respect, your body goes into withdrawal. Those cells are crying out for their usual chemical fix of unworthiness, of people-pleasing, of acceptance-seeking. This isn't weakness. This is biology. Let me share what I've observed in thousands of people during our workshops. Someone will recognize that they're constantly being taken advantage of, that people don't respect their boundaries. They make a conscious decision to change. But then something interesting happens. They start feeling anxious, uncomfortable, even guilty when they try to stand up for themselves. This isn't just psychological resistance. It's a biological craving for familiar emotional chemicals. Your body has become so accustomed to operating in a state of unworthiness that worthiness feels foreign, even threatening. Your cells are literally programmed to maintain the status quo of your emotional state. Here's what makes this even more fascinating. Your body doesn't know the difference between an emotion created by an external event and an emotion you create through thought alone. Every time you remember past disrespect, every time you replay scenarios where your boundaries were violated, you're producing the same chemicals as if it were happening right now. This means that many people are actually addicting themselves to unwanted treatment through their own thought patterns. They wake up in the morning and immediately start thinking about how others have wronged them, how they're not appreciated, how they're taken for granted. With each thought, they're producing chemicals that strengthen their addiction to these emotional states. But here's the liberating truth. Just as you can become addicted to the chemistry of unworthiness, you can create a new addiction to the chemistry of self-respect and personal power. Your body can learn to crave the chemicals produced by standing in your worth, by expecting and demanding respect, by maintaining clear boundaries. This isn't just positive thinking. This is biological transformation. That's the end of part 1, and honestly, it's just the beginning. Part 2 is where the real shift happens. So make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. You won't want to miss what's coming next. See you there.